Liam Rossignol here at pitchside, Chris, and he looks very focused and cross and hurt, I think, by that performance because, well, as we described for 95 minutes, it was disgraceful. And you can go through every training drill, Rams TV can video every smiling bit of gaffery on the training ground and make everybody feel like it's a wonderful place to be, but results don't come, performances come like that, and I'm sorry, you better get your roadmap out for League One, because if it continues, that's where Derby will be.
Thank you, Ed. Let's stay there and let's bring Eric into the conversation as well. Eric, you were listening on to that, both Liam Rossignol and Andre Wisdom, who I know you know quite well. I always feel for any player that gets the dreaded tap on the shoulder to go and face the media after a performance like that. You kind of hope that someone takes the initiative, don't you, and say, no, I'm coming out to front up. It was Andre's this time, and we'll get on to what Liam Rossignol had to say. I guess the problem with the player interview is that they always say the right things, don't they? They always come out and say, this is a problem, we're not playing well, we know we need to improve. This is football, it's part and parcel of being a footballer. But you do wonder, and I just, something that Andre said and also Liam Rossignol said, they do feel quite nice, this team. They do feel quite, that they wouldn't say boo to many geese, if you know what I mean. And there does feel at the moment that there just needs to be some fighters in there that are going to get Derby out of this position.
I think you're going to miss the seniority. I think they're going to regret the fact that Shinnie and Davis weren't in the team. That's going to be my first and opening point. And that's probably where they're going to say they've got to pick a team on Saturday. Saturday is not a time for young players. Saturday's a time to put in them responsible senior players. Andre Wisdom hinted at, yes, they're collectively together. I think they will be. I think they will be as a group. How many of them have we got, though? They're going to actually, question people and say, come on, we need more from you. We need more from you. He was hurting. And all credit to him that he came out. That's part of his duty. Win or lose, you've got to send somebody out. They sent a senior player, which is what Andre is now. And he was hurting. And if there is, and it's got to be, because you got the follow-on interview with Liam Rossignol, there's now a massive collective responsibility that's got to be shown by players and staff alike. And there's going to be some tough decisions have to be made between now and Saturday. And you can hear all them cliches. Ed's right. We cannot continue playing. I was quite enthused, and we defended and we praised the team on Monday night on the phone-in. But tonight, if we were doing a phone-in tomorrow, I'd find that very hard to defend that performance. Now that is where coaching staff will be saying, I can't get that. I don't quite follow why we can't get that group of players to follow on from Bristol, where they admitted all they needed was better ball in terms of the final third. But we never really got going tonight. And Middlesbrough did what they did. They did it. We handed them the goals, and that'll be the disappointing. And in the end, it's right. Andre's had to come out and represent the players, and they will be hurting. And I just hope they all are genuinely hurting, because I saw some performance on there tonight that were way, way below representing Derby County shirt and the team. And I'm sure the staff will be really frustrated when they've seen what they did Saturday. You can't go. That's probably why we are bottom, that we can't get any consistency in performance individually and collectively. Normally, if you're bottom, that's why. You've got an individual and a collective responsibility, and if they're not performing individually and collectively, you are going to be in the bottom 3, bottom 4. When you're going the other way, that's why you are. If you're flying at the top, it's because you've got 8, 9, 10 players performing every week. And at the moment, we've got nowhere near 6, 7 players performing. And I disagree with Liam Rossignol. I don't see them substitutions at all. Max Bird might have played as a left wing back in the 23s. You can't go on against the pace that they've got when they brought pace. They got pace in wide positions, then they've changed it. That threw the whole balance of the team out. And I just look and go, that was, get Kazi and Richards on, but you've still got to keep the things right at the back to give yourself a chance to pull a goal back. So, I can see why they're saying it, but it's got to be a massive collective responsibility from the staff, the players, the tactics, and it's going to be, again, how much Steve McLaren's going to have to try and influence that team and performance that we're going to need on Saturday.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get on probably in the last half an hour as to what kind of impact Steve McLaren might have with this side. It looked like he was quite involved with writing notes, and by all accounts he did go down and have a word at half time in the dressing room. Some of your messages then, we haven't touched your messages. We've had obviously lots to discuss and the 2 interviews to bring you. So many to get through. 81333 at BBC Derby Sport. Andy says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get the same results. I said it on Monday. We did exactly the same things again tonight, and as we've been doing, we got nothing again. Rookie managers trying to be too clever and overthink things isn't what we need. We have to get a recognised experienced manager urgently, or I'm afraid we are going down. Blair, if we're picking fighters next match, I don't expect to see the majority of those who played tonight. Shinnie and Davis have to play. Sam, what is happening with the club? Fans have no idea what's happening with the ownership, no idea if we're actively searching for a manager. At times, players didn't seem to have a clue what we were trying to do. The second half was an embarrassment. Mel or someone high up needs to explain what's happening to the fans as we're sleepwalking into League One. Lucy, as soon as the first goal goes in, we collapse. Clearly the mistakes aren't good enough, but how much is the collapse after a goal due to the lack of confidence? Mr. D on Twitter, this is as low as I can remember in my time supporting Derby. I never thought it would get as worse as 07-08, but this is going that way until a proper manager comes in and sorts this out. And Ross for now says, why can't we just give Steve the job? Surely Rooney wouldn't mind helping out a former England coach. Not keen on Rosenior, Rooney and Given being being in charge at the moment. We need experience. And something, I think Ed is back upstairs, but it's a long climb, so we'll give you a couple of moments to catch
I'm all right.
He's all right. He's a fit lad. He can handle it.
He
He's
is,
well
to be
fit.
fair. He is. For his age, he's very fit.
Thanks, Chris.
No
Yes,
problem
thank
at all.
you.
I can say that from 200 miles away.
Yes.
Something that Liam Rosenior said to you, Ed, and I did raise my eyebrows a touch, although I get the justification when he said the noise, the media noise.
Yeah.
But this is what you get when you appoint a 4-man interim team. This is what you get when both Liam Rosenior and Wayne Rooney sit in front of you at a press conference, both saying, we actually quite fancy the job. They didn't directly say it, but we got the hint that was very much what they're saying. A lot of this media noise, inverted commas, has been completely avoidable. And we're only talking about it now because the performances have gradually been getting worse and worse and worse. I know he says they have to block it out and it's got nothing to do with that. But if we're a little bit perplexed with what's going on, surely the players are as well.
It's brought on themselves, isn't it, as a club? Because they've gone for people who always bring headlines and noise. Lampard nearly got it over the line, didn't. But throughout that whole season, noise. Rooney signing completely on the first game for Koku, undermined him really. Put Derby right up there in the spotlight, and Koku had to do the job. Noise. There's always going to be noise when you sign big players and you have big players in charge. And then when you put, big player without any coaching badges in charge, and it goes awfully wrong, that's what you get. And you can't blame the media. You can't. That's what we do. And the fans will talk, and they are talking. This is an experiment that is going wrong, and it's not an experiment that has to continue.
Well, the only media messages that have come out is the fact that there's a 4-man team being appointed, Chris, as of last weekend, with Philip Koku leaving the club. That was the media message. I think it was the fact that Ed was asking the right questions. I think Rosenior got it around the wrong way when he started talking about all that's going on. Well, yeah, there will be. Exactly what you're saying. People are going to. They want to know what is happening.
It's Derby County.
Yeah,
the bottom of the Championship. They shouldn't be there.
2 weeks ago it was supposed to be done deal. Now it's not. It's still going on. So the longer it goes on, Chris, there's going to be that frustration among the fans as to what exactly is happening. When's the takeover? And unfortunately, good results would have hidden some of that. They can't hide the fact that we've had 2 poor results since they've gone in charge.
And as you said, the project, the experiment, whatever this might be, and I think they probably did think if Rooney and Rosenior can perform with McLaren over them, then it's a management team we can work with. Surely that experiment has to end. You look at John Terry is still odds-on favourite. It's not a job for him either. Surely it has to be someone who knows what they're doing at this level.
This is just trying to create the beautiful picture, the beautiful scenario, but you can't do that because it's a football club. It's Derby County with 25,000 season ticket holders. It's Derby County who should be in the Premier League or at least at the top end of the Championship. And this whole idea that we can conjure up this whole sort of spell and ingredients to make the whole sort of amazing outcome, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So this lot, I mean, that performance was atrocious. Dreadful. This lot need a kick up the backside from 1 to 25. And they need somebody with experience to come in and swear at them and throw things at them and get them playing. And if they don't want to play, get out. Go away. You're paid stupid amounts of money and you're not performing. And it's embarrassing.
Eric, and that sentiment is very, I can imagine, is being very much echoed in living rooms, not just in Derby, but throughout the world. All Rams fans that have watched that or listened to that, I'm sure will be feeling very, very angry tonight.
Yeah, I've had certain texts which are very, very angry. And I think they're looking and saying, can we not get McLaren on that training ground before Saturday? One or two have said that. Ultimately, he's come in and now he knows the task he's took on. By word, if he didn't know what was happening, he does now. Haven't witnessed that live. He'll have watched the game on Saturday via the TV and seen, sparks, chances, looked at what he could do, but haven't seen that tonight. It'll be very reminiscent of when he sat there when we were 4-1 down to Ipswich, 2013.
No, it's not that bad. Honestly, it's not that bad.
No.
Because that team weren't that bad when he took over. They got beaten by Burnley and Leicester.
Yeah.
But they weren't that bad. They weren't like you throw a load of nuts and bolts into a bag, shake it up and hope that they all put themselves together. That's what that performance was.
There was nowhere near. There was not enough guile, not enough. Again, we've said it before, you've got to have some personality out there, and certainly tonight, poor Wayne Rooney, I felt that is, if ever you saw a performance where he's got one head on the pitch and another one off, and when he gets moved 3 times, that can't happen. That can't happen. He's got to stay in and around one position. He can't do that way. You can ask him to go back up top as a 9. When you got Kazim Richards, why did they bring Kazim Richards on half time? Liam Racine saying we did as a staff. We thought that the vital thing was to get Kazim Richards on to try and affect the game. Do it at half time. If he was that effective, bring him. We've been asking. He keeps getting 15 minutes. So that for me, there's the one thing about the substitution. Do that half time. Take Wagon off, put Kazim Richards on. But he waits again for 20 minutes to go. We're 3-0 down by then.
You say, Eric, that Rooney is playing in various positions, and he is, but you also say he's been told that. Surely he has that influence. As we keep mentioning, he's joint manager and he's the captain. And I know,
and that's the difficulty.
Yeah,
that's the difficulty for me. That you
and he's
can't
not going to take
it.
himself off, is he?
No, he's not. But again, I'll go back to a long time ago. A good friend of mine, Brian Horton, who was a manager at Man City, Oxford, Brighton, played with him, and went to Hull. And he asked me one night, can you come up and watch? We're playing Southampton in the Cup. And he was playing in central midfield, which he was. And after 25 minutes, I watched the game. And after the game, he said, what do you think? I said, you can't play anymore. You cannot influence him on the field. You've got to get off that field now. And I think that's the position Wayne Rooney finds himself in. He's trying to affect it on the field. He can't.
You're good friends with him.
Yeah.
Could you tell him that? Would he listen to you?
Yeah, he would listen, no problem. But I think at the moment he's been given a job alongside 3 others, and we don't forget there's still 2 coaches there that were working with Cocu as well. Shay Given and Liam Racine were working with Cocu and Justin Walker, so it's not as though they've just stepped in.
Yeah,
they've had opportunities to see what Cocu done. They've had opportunities now to say this is where we can put our stamp on it. And so far, they can't hide behind, we've lost the 2 games they've been in charge.
But Eric, that's surely part of the problem. You've mentioned it there.
Yeah.
They were all part of Philip Cocu's backroom team. Now, if you're sacking the manager and Chris van der Veer and Twan Shapers, who now actually, bless them, they're probably sitting thinking, well, we told you so, we were trying, but you appoint 4 men who were still part of that setup. They can say all they want, and I think Liam Racine did say to it, Ed, didn't he, that no disrespect to the last guys, but we're trying to change things. But you were under Philip Cocu and Van der Veerden and Shapers doing a job, and presumably you were supportive of the manager because that's what you had to do, and you're still trying to run with the ideas that were still prevalent under Philip Cocu as well, which is surely, Ed, another need to get a fresh perspective, and maybe Steve McLaren is that man with a fresh perspective to change things around.
But is Steve McLaren going to put his tracksuit on and get back out there? I mean, that's another romantic notion, isn't it? We've had it before, the second time he came back, and we thought, yeah, this is it. It was only a couple of years ago. Majority of the same side is still there. It's going to be free-flowing football, 4-3-3, Derby way, and all that kind of stuff. And it never happened. It never happened. And yet Steve's back again to do a different job. He could end up being the manager again, but he doesn't have the players. This squad is really poor. You know, it's not the squad that Nigel Clough built for him first time round that he took on to the next level with additions. It's not the squad that you know.
There's not a Russell, Martin,
No,
Ward. There's not a Hendrick.
There's none of that.
Hendrick, Bryson, Hughes. There's none of that. Nowhere near.
And they were all saleable assets.
Yeah.
Derby don't have any saleable assets at this time.
Oh, we've sold our assets, haven't
But
we?
you could say, I mean, people who wax lyrical about Louis Sibley and Max Bird and all that kind of stuff. They're worth nothing right now. They're worth nothing right now because their performances are poor as a collective.
Well, again, we're going to go back to it. They've got to pick a team now to win the game on Saturday, and you've got to go. You cannot go with the kids on Saturday. You've got to bring experienced players back in. It is not a time for the faint-hearted. And again, they're going to look back and go, why Shinnie was left out of the team? I've said it all along. You need him in there.
Shinnie and Davis were playing at the time where Derby looked half decent, and they got points. They scored goals. They won at Norwich. And now, both of them, senior players, with bite, with an idea of how to play, of how to get everybody in the game concentrating, are on the touchline. I just don't understand it.
There was no reaction tonight. You know, when the first goal went in, at the time, obviously, you've got to do what you do. As a commentator, you have to make your notes. There was nothing. There was nobody on that field. I didn't see any vocality to say we're going 1-0 down. Point fingers at. I'd have gone. There'd have been people when I played them that had gone over to Tom Lawrence and said, "What are you doing? When the ball's come in the box, what we doing? Attacking the ball?" No, we didn't. It was a free header for the guy. It was a midfield player that headed it back, Saville. And in the end, you're scrambling to defend it. There was no reaction. That's what I'm talking about. If they're that good a group, they should be then digging each other out. And obviously, the management have changed it at half time. Did that have an effect?
The people who dig each other out are Shinnie and Davis. Davis especially. Do you remember that post-match interview at Norwich?
Yep.
What did he say? We changed it. We had a chat in the week, and we made sure that we were talking all the way through.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the communicators aren't on the field, and they turn in performances like that. So it's hardly a surprise.
It is. And in the end, the biggest Derby selection will be for Saturday to win a game. Against Wickham, it'll be the biggest team selection that anybody, whether it's going to be Steve McLaren or our group of four, that make that decision. Because at the moment, you're looking to say, what is our best 11? We are struggling to think of our best 11 at the moment on what you saw tonight, because there's 4 or 5 of them, Chris, that have still got to go out again on Saturday and perform. I feel for David Marshall, Keepers Union. I feel for him. He's come into a club and he's thinking, crikey, man, I went down with Wigan. I've come here. He's worked overtime here in 12 games so far. Again tonight, 3 saves, second half, to keep us in a game that we could have gone down 5, 6. Could have been, as Ed said, embarrassing.
Well,
and there was embarrassing moments in certain efforts of our play. If you'd watched the full 90 minutes, there was cringe moments that some of the players, when they look back at them, they'll go, "Oh my word!" But
I'll tell you, sorry.
No,
on Saturday, and we were talking after the game, and we were talking about how we are lucky and privileged to be in the ground and watch it from a perspective that the people watching the telly don't have.
That's right.
Tonight, the people from the telly were unable to see some of the embarrassing moments that we saw.
Yeah.
And the people on the telly are lucky because they could turn it off.
Yeah, they could turn it off. Especially the goal kick. Second half, my word. I've never seen that in a Derby County team. I've never seen that.
I mean, literally, that was unbelievable. It was a goal kick, and Spence was just running. Was it Spence? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
now.
Spence.
He was just running on his own. Derby's 2 defenders were the opposite side of the penalty area.
Bird, to be fair, had been pulled in as the third, because his wing back at the time was Tom Lawrence. That was his wing back. And you're expecting you're not going to get Tom Lawrence to play a wing back, no chance. So ultimately, there's some of the decisions that were made, and that's where there is. Tonight, driving back down that A1M, there'll be a collective responsibility. They should all be saying, right, where did I go wrong? The staff have to do that. The players have to do that. Then inevitably there's going to be an inquisition tomorrow with the new technical director, with the staff, and probably with the players. It is going to be back in tomorrow. Conversations made between staff, conversations made with players, individually, collectively. Then there's got to be a plan, because again, I'm still saying it, we can get out of this, but we're down to 2 home games against the promoted teams. I would never have thought I'd said that at the start of the season.
If they don't win those games, Eric, they're done, I think, that early on.
Well, they're 6-pointers, aren't they? I know it seems ludicrous to be saying that in November, but they are. But just simply because, well, both games have finished, incidentally, at least the one that Coventry are involved with, and they've beaten Cardiff 1-0. So Coventry is 6 points clear of Derby. Coventry 21st with 12 points, Derby 24th with 6 points, Sheffield Wednesday up to 7 points now. Then come Wickham in the relegation zone, got a point against Huddersfield in 22nd. So that gap between Derby and Coventry when they play on Tuesday, well, it could be 9 points. And then Wycombe would be 3 points, but it doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
No.
And there have been so many lines drawn in the sand, it feels like, this season. This has to be the biggest line of the lot.
And Ed and I, when we left Bristol City on Saturday, we were talking on the way back to our respective cars, and we were filled with a bit of hope, because we saw enough within that to say, right, we can build on that, and we can go to Middlesbrough. Not an easy place to go. Best defensive record, so what? We can go there. But we never saw it. Rossini, he did hint on that, didn't he, with your interview? That's where he couldn't understand. That's where he's got to look at them players and go, now why? How can you go in 3 days from the level that you had to what I saw tonight? Now that's where players really do have got to look at themselves.
That's why I asked him if they got the heart for this.
Yeah.
Have they got the fight? The players.
Let me read some messages. We've been inundated, unsurprisingly, with messages, and you can watch on BBC Derby Sport if you like, and you can see the live comments from fans, and you can join in the very, very lively debate. Sarah says, the League One trapdoor is open and waiting. This team is not a team. Like the managers, their heads have turned. Rooney has had his head turned to the manager's head coach role instead. Never mind McLaren, we need Houdini to get out of this. Mark, that was abject. We've all been patient, but please, please, please end this state of flux before it's too late. EJ, sitting here rocking back and forth slowly, that was horrific. 11 individuals playing as strangers. I've heard League One is very nice. Maybe that's the kick we need. Lee, poor tonight, but after Saturday I did see a vast improvement, but that tonight was another level. I honestly believe Rooney will be the next manager, and if he does get the job, he may have to hang his boots up. Tim says, I agree with all the pundits tonight. Derby's performance was just plain embarrassing. Please sort it out. We must get a tried and tested manager to turn it around. It will only get worse if things don't change. No name on this text. That was pathetic. For me, that was the same as Bristol City. We created nothing all game there, and we created nothing here. The takeover needs to happen. They need a manager. We can't continue with these pair. We have looked as worse as we have all season. Finally, for now, Hector says there is a lot to get sorted over the next few days, and they have to be the right ones. I like Mel, but there's a real risk of his time here ending with a sour taste. If we are going with Rooney, then he has to hang his boots up, but he has had so much to deal with off the field. I can't help but wonder if a certain sponsorship deal is making sure he does play, which would be embarrassing. So many questions which need answering fast. 81333 at BBC Derby Sport. A couple of things from there. Eric, I can't remember which texter it was. It might have been Tim. That has to be the message, surely. And I don't know who's going to say it to Wayne Rooney, and maybe he has to make it himself. Choose one, Wayne. Whatever you want to do now, just choose one. If you want to be a manager, then be a manager and don't play. If you want to be a player, go and be a player and put the management on ice for the moment, because at the moment this state of flux is a big part of the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Ed wants to come in before I comment.
I don't want Wayne Rooney's career ambition and goals gambling what is, as many people know, my football club and a lot of other people's football clubs. I don't want him, and whether he's manager or player manager, I don't want to have that affect the destination of Derby County this season, because it seems that there's too much focus on him, whether he's manager, is he player, is he manager, is he player, what number's he got on his shirt, what name has he got on the front. You know, it's all too much focus, and meanwhile Derby is spiralling into League One, and we're all supposed to go, oh, there you go then. Oh, well, that's a shame, but at least we saw Rooney play for a bit. It's a shambles. It's a total shambles.
Well, ultimately now there's somebody going to make a decision. Wayne Rooney's not daft. If he's not up to it, he'll turn around. In terms of what he saw on the pitch tonight, he'll be number one. He knows that was nowhere near the performance that we'd expect from Wayne Rooney. That decision will be made. I think that's where Steve McLaren will step in between now and Saturday. I think Steve will have to step in as technical director and make certainly decisions in terms of the team shape, how we'll perform, who it's going to be, in what positions, and one of them will be, Wayne, if we're going to play you, if you're going to play him, leave him in one position. Don't move him and shift him around everywhere. That's wrong. That's wrong to him. He shouldn't even be allowing that. As the coach, as the player on the field, he should be saying, stick with me in that middle of the park. To see him going up as a 9 again.
Well, that's what I said.
It was absolutely madness for me. Then Liam Rossini says, yeah, that's why we changed and brought Kazim Richards on. Stick him on at half time. But we didn't.
So again,
you put pressure on to Wayne Rooney. And listen, because of the type of lad he is, he'll want to go and do his best. He's not doing his best when he's being switched on 3 positions during that 45-minute spell.
And the saving grace, maybe.
Sorry, Chris, back to you. Sorry.
No,
about
that's
that.
okay. I sort of wish I could be there to see your faces. Although I can hear the anger and frustration. You've only got another 15 minutes. Don't worry, and then you can forget about it.
We might have that. We've got stewards looking at us to get us out of here.
Yeah, I know. But they have to. Steve McLaren is there, and I suppose that is the one element of it that you think, okay, at least there is an experienced figurehead there now, and surely he can go, okay, now it's time to intervene. I might not be technically part of the process until the takeover is confirmed, but he was there tonight, so you'd think that he can go in and at least get some semblance of structure there.
He might have checked if his contract hadn't been signed, gone through. He might have changed his mind, took it back on what you saw tonight. No, he'll take some order. There's no doubt in my mind he will have to take some order now, between now and Saturday. That's why he was brought in as technical director to aid this very, very young coaching staff that we've got. Because ultimately, them two results tell you they had to win. They had to get positive results from these two games, going into two home games against two promoted teams to have a chance of saying, is that going to be the way? I don't think that was ever going to be the way forward. That four were never going to be the way forward. I've said all along it's got to be an experienced manager. Whether Rooney's been promised player, then a coaching role, fine. Have a coaching role, but let it be under the next manager coming in. That's where it would lie, that the next man comes in, experienced, knows the league, gives us stability. Let Wayne then hang up his boots slowly. At the moment, too much has been accelerated for Rooney. Now he's got to then say, I'm bold enough and man enough to step out and say, right, I'm off the pitch, I'm going to coach. Or I think Steve McLaren will take order and say, right, this is what we've got to do between now and Saturday. Thankfully, you've got him there, Ed, because if you hadn't, them four would have made it very, very difficult jobs between now and Saturday.
Mark says, sadly, this team has become used to losing. They've simply forgotten how to score goals and how to win. The coaching team seem inept with their tactical decisions, and as the way the team plays is a symptom of their training. Good luck, Mr. McLaren. Another mark in Repton, another dismal display. No idea of formation, playing players out of position, asking players to play 3 different positions in the same game. We need a leader, a proven manager. This takeover has rumbled on far too long and is affecting the whole club. Why are the same players playing week after week when we're bottom of the table? Lawrence, Waghorn and others start every game despite their performances. We need to sort this quickly or we will be relegated for sure. Daniel, a lot of people have said this, Ed, the best comments I've heard tonight from Ed, passionate and correct with what he says, and is facing up to the fact it's not too early to be talking about League One. And Eric, we've mentioned this a few times, and if not in the talking but off air, you look at the big clubs that have fallen through this division. Derby are not immune from this. Sunderland went down in the famous documentary that we all saw. Leicester have been in League One. Wolves have been in League One. Southampton have been in League One. Leeds have been in League One. Ipswich, who are still there. Portsmouth, who are still there. And this is why red flags are waving everywhere for Derby. This is severe.
Derby County have got no divine right to stay in this league. They've got to fight. Now, Ed's made the point, and quite right. You can see when you're dealing with somebody who's as passionate about the football club as he is. Listen, I give 10 years to this football club. This is hurting. And I've never seen some of the performances I've had to witness this start of this season have been so poor, albeit under Cocu. Now it's under the new management team. This is way below what you expect from a Derby County team. And as you say, we've got no divine right to stay in this league because there's other teams have gone down. There's 8 of them in the League One that have been there, Premier League, and are now in that league. And at the moment, it's not, we said it before, the longer this goes, it's starting to go. And somebody's made a good point, one of the guys that it's rang in, it becomes a habit. Winning becomes a habit, and unfortunately, losing is becoming a habit.
Andre Wisdom, you could see it. You could see it in his eyes. And normally Andre is jovial, upbeat, but he looks broken. Liam looks broken. They look broken.
If you'd been here as a supporter, you'd be looking and going, Rooney back up as a 9. You know, second half when we come out, I'm in disbelief.
Well, I said that to you,
I'm in absolute disbelief as to why. We know Wayne is not a 9 anymore. And we've got a Kazim Richards sitting on the bench. We've got Stretton sitting on the bench. So the decisions made by the coaching staff, I just can't see it. I can see Sibley coming on. That was the one positive
That was the one bright spot.
That was the one positive move. Sibley all of a sudden looking in the position that he gave massive effect when he really impacted in Derby County's history. When he came, the Millwall game that Ed and I went to. Unbelievable when you see that, the hat-trick. And then the goals that he got. And it was good to see him back on. That was the one positive note tonight, that he was the true 10 position. And if he'd put it in, could have been a different game. Could have been a different game.
Every single match, everybody's playing in a different position.
Yeah.
Tom Lawrence is named in the team every single game.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect the game. Drifts out of position. Doesn't do enough. Martin Waghorn, you have to question him now, because normally he puts in so much effort and so much, he puts a shift in. And
front three was non-existent.
Non-existent. Jozwiak, not a player that we saw in the opening games that he played.
He's miles off it now.
It's just it's becoming psychological.
Well,
it's
the doubt is spreading, and that's what you've got. You've got, in terms of that, the confidence will be ebbing away. Now you really have got a massive 3-4 days. That's why I go back to it. All the anger.
It's not even that.
All the passion.
It's
2 days. All the passion. That's really got to be controlled now. So there's got to be some calm heads. Luckily, you've got somebody who's just come in who will give you that. But I do think, Steve, get that training kit back out. Get a hold of Dave or the kit man. Get that training kit out. Get that bag of balls around your shoulder. Show them this is how we're going to win the game. This is how we'll not lose the game.
Yeah.
And that's what it'll need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a short-term measure. But, this is not a football club to gamble with. This is a gamble.
Well, Steve won't be a gamble.
No, Steve won't be a gamble, but the other two will be a gamble, because we've seen it already.
Yeah.
And you can't gamble with a football club of Derby County's size, because it might work.
Derby Ram 1968 says Derby are rudderless at the moment and are looking at League One if this carries on. Takeover was agreed 2 weeks ago. Why has it not happened? And also, why sack Koku when you don't have a manager to replace him? Nathan, I think, agrees with your point, Ed. This is clearly a psychological issue. We have a plethora of international players at various levels, past and present, so can't just be a poor team, surely. Devoid of confidence, we need to get back to bare basics with clear, simple instructions, because we have nobody on the field of play able to affect the game off their own backs. Huff and puff, but hitting the bricks, absolutely not acceptable. League One calling very loudly. Wake up, lads, and very quickly. Rick, we're in a complete mess. Rooney is out of his depth. We need to get an experienced manager now, or we're in League One next season. Please let the takeover happen sooner rather than later and get the club some stability. Tony, this limbo whilst takeover is agreed is causing untold damage to our club. League One beckons. We need an experienced manager now. Rossignol and Rooney, not the answer at all. And Dave and Allenton says his team are a joke. We've given them 3 absolutely stupid goals, just dreadful. I just cannot understand why we keep playing Lawrence and Rooney. I think the players need to take a very good look at themselves. There will be further reflections. Sorry, Ed, you're back with me, aren't you, tomorrow after 6 to pick the bones out of tonight?
I'll still be fuming, Chris.
Oh, good.
I'll still be fuming, but I might sleep at some point.
Please do. Please do.
You will.
I won't.
As long as there's another game, you keep the hope. You've got to remain that way and upbeat.
Well, let's end the final 5 minutes of the programme. Then I know that you've probably got stewards glaring at you because they want to go home.
No, he's all right. He's all right.
He's fine.
Okay.
We've told him it'll be another hour. He's okay.
Well, the sad thing is we probably could go on for another hour given the problems at the moment. You also have a long drive back, so.
And now you're bothered.
I'm very conscious of that.
Come on, you're going to ask us. How do you turn it round?
Well, I am going to ask
you that.
Ed.
Come on, Chris.
On Saturday, I know it's very hard now. Emotions are running high, and we've got that performance very much in our heads. But as you say, Derby have 2 days to get their head straight and go at home against a Wycombe side who will be licking their lips at the moment, no doubt. Gareth Ainsworth's side, we know what they're all about. What on earth do you do to the team to try and get them, doing something, scoring a goal?
Well, you've got to make training very quickly has to become upbeat, which I know that's what will happen. And also off the field, you've got to pick a team and stick with it. You've got to pick with this team and stick with it. We can't be changing the team in and around. If you make substitutions, they have to impact the game. And at the moment, we're not doing that. So we've got to get a team shape very quickly established, ready to go and beat Wycombe in terms of the way they'll play. And we've got to stick with it. And we've got to get some belief into the players. And that over 48 hours is not easy. So it's going to need all the skill, all the expertise of Steve McLaren to try and pull this round. Because then we have to be ready. And every player has to look and say, right, they've got to give it. There's no other way, 100%. Because we have got ability in that team. What we have got, sadly, is a lack of belief. And the only way you get out of that is by getting around players and saying, when you're in trouble, I'm going to be there to help you. When I'm in trouble, I expect you to be there. I don't have to be looking over my shoulder. And a bit of Curtis Davies is right. Players have to start saying, if I criticise you, it's for the benefit of the club. And dig people out and get back to that, like we had at Norwich.
We're going to see those that fancy it, aren't we, Saturday, Ed? We're going to see those that are prepared to run through brick walls for this club.
You'd hope so. Can't go lower than this. It's really bad. I've seen relegations in black and white and blue and white, and I just think that this has got it written all over it. These kind of performances, this consistent chopping and changing of selection, I've just seen it. I've just seen it before. Eric's been in it. He's seen it before. It's got a very bad taste in your mouth right now.
If this was March, April, we're down.
Yeah.
We're down. You'd be going at the last 6-7 games going, how on earth are we going to get out of this? Because when you see what you've got on the field, you see reactions tonight. That's the thing that we looked at.
No reactions.
That you wouldn't have got. There was no reactions. That's what really disappointed tonight. No, there'd have been people there screaming at people when we've given the goals away, given the passes away that we did. When you haven't delivered a cross in, have a go at people. There was none of that tonight. There wasn't enough passion, not enough on the field. So there's got to be both, on and off the field. So ultimately, huge game come Saturday.
And the bottom line, Ed, is that Derby need to reach a decision ASAP on what they're going to do with the manager. The boardroom tussle between owners and prospective owners needs to end sharpish. A new manager, whoever they decide to go with, needs to be installed quickly. You think it has to be one with experience, and then Derby have a fighting chance. The longer this goes on, the more that gap increases, and then you absolutely fear.
Bang on. And the larger the gap is, the longer it goes without appointing a manager, all of a sudden prospective candidates of a name will just disappear back in their hedge, because they won't want to be associated with a weak squad and a relegation. And unfortunately, that is something that could very well happen here. So, you never know. Derby might turn in a performance and somebody's bottom might score, just like Chris Martin's back last season, and Derby win a game. And a win would change a lot of things, hopefully, confidence especially. But a decision has to be made, because the experiment is flat. And I like Liam. I think he talks well, but I just think at the moment this is too big for him and Wayne to get Derby out of this trouble.